Hi, welcome to my new video. In this video I'm going to talk about Distrobox. What is Distrobox? Distrobox is a tool which allows you to utilize certain programs limited to a specific distro, which your distro, you are currently using, are not available on. But you do not want to switch to this other distro, for example, just for this one program, for example. And in this video I will show you how you are able to work with different distros in one distro. So working with multiple distros simultaneously under exclamation mark. So to overcome compatibility issues, if there ever should be some that would come up. Here I am on my desktop and I have two terminals open. And I'm just going to fast fetch. Here you can see operating system EndeavorsOS, which is the prime operating system I'm using, Linux kernel, blah blah blah, all different configurations, settings, good and fine. Here you have my graphics card, for example, my CPU. Okay, so good, so uninteresting. Now I'm going to utilize the same command on the second terminal here. And you can see it's CentOS stream. The graphics card is the same, the CPU is the same, the graphics card is the same, etc. Why is this the case? Because this is my host system and this here is my container. And in the following video I will describe how do you install the different steps, etc. and how to build this type of configuration setup on your host system from the bottom up. But yeah, let's go. So may it be, for example, DaVinci Resolve you're trying to run, or BPY Top, for example, a system monitoring tool. I mean, it's not that specific, that important right now, but just in general, you may want to work with different distros in one, because, for example, for a certain program or for certain workflows, for example, you want to have packages of a specific distro without switching your entire workspace to it. And Distrobox allows you to do this. Distrobox allows you, for example, to run Arch commands, Arch packages in Debian, for example, and stuff like that. I mean, Distrobox is especially important if you're working with immutable distros. Immutable distros, what are these? Vanilla OS, SteamOS, for example. It's not really that important for this video right now, but immutable distros mean the main operating system cannot be changed. But maybe you still want to install packages, you utilize Distrobox. So the principle is the same. Now in my case I'm working on EndeavorsOS, which is an Arch-based Linux distro, with which I'm working with different packages. First of all is Podman. Distrobox allows multiple containerizing programs, that would be Docker, Podman and Lilliput. If you have no clue what either of them are, Docker, for example, if you're working with VSL on Windows, maybe. But all of them are containerizing tools. In my personal use case, I only work with Podman, because this is the containerizing program I've heard the most and the best reviews about. I mean, there are many, I just looked some up, and yeah, Podman was the recommendation. And that was already half a year ago, so I have some minor experience with Podman. Distrobox sits on top of Podman or any other containerizing tool you may have installed. And what Distrobox does, it simplifies the containerizing process for you. And a third and optional package I've installed is Boxbuddy. Boxbuddy exists as a Flatpak, which means it can be installed on any distro, independent of what distro you're using. Now, what is a Flatpak? In the video you can find a video about me talking about Flatpaks extensively, in which I have explained, how Flatpaks, for example, provide a universality of programs, but in this video it is properly explained. So we have Podman, Distrobox, and Boxbuddy. Boxbuddy, a GUI interface to make it easier to set up and easier to maintain. Now, before I go to the installation process, there are some things I want to explain. Because how does a container, which is you work with in Distrobox, I will explain in a second. How does this properly operate on my system? Because I'm working on a mutable distro. It doesn't really matter if you're working with Distrobox on immutable or mutable distros, as long as you're just working inside the containers. Because what is a container? A container, if you install, for example, on your... You have a Debian system as your main operating system, onto which you install Podman, Distrobox, into which you create an Arch container to use Arch commands, Arch packages, and thereby it becomes an Arch container. Now it's really important to differentiate between a container and a virtual machine. Now I've made a video in the description, you can find it. I mean, yeah, technically you can be, really specific about the definitions here. A virtual machine like VirtualBox, for example, completely isolated from your main operating system. Then Distrobox containers, how are they different? They are tight-net integrated into your main system. They are not meant to give you any security benefits, advantages, or whatsoever. No, they are just there to provide a broader bandwidth of compatibility. This is all it does, just to bypass these issues. Now, containers are somewhat isolated from your system, but not really as isolated as virtual machines would be. Before I move on, I want to talk about the home directive. In Linux, on your root directive, which I will show in a second, there are multiple directives, and these directives are all encompassing your Linux distro. I will explain in a second. But the home directive is where you store your videos, your pictures, your funny memes, whatsoever. But also some, program configuration files. Do you want this program have the color green, the color orange, and whatever. So user relevant information is stored in here. Not system relevant information. Just for you to differentiate properly. What does this mean? Distrobox has a unique quirk. It's a bit overly dramatic formulated, but Distrobox, the host operating system with which you are working with, and the containers all share the same home directive. It's one and the same, because it's not about isolation, but integration, to provide you with more expanded compatibility. Just for you to get a rough understanding about it. Now, how do you install it? How do you set it up? And yeah, let's start. So here I am in my virtual machine, and in which we are going to set Distrobox up from scratch, basically. Now, before I'm going into the repositories, etc., let us just make one thing sure. We are going to open a browser, any browser, doesn't really matter. And bam bam bam. And then type in Distrobox. So accept here Distrobox, distrobox.it. Here we are on the Distrobox website made by the developer. Now, here's some information. Use any Linux distribution inside your terminal, blah 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 blah. Important, Distrobox uses Podman, Docker or Lilliput. I personally use Podman. If you are for some reason preferring Docker or Lilliput, then you can use them without any issues. I use Podman. If you have no clue what I've just said, use Podman. And here's everything documented. How to install Distrobox, for example. How to set containers up, for example. I will explain it later on, but this is where everything is noted. Here, for example, Distrobox is packaged for following distributions. Here you can check out if Distrobox is available in your official repositories. And if they are not available, then you can find curl or wchat, for example, find alternative ways to install Distrobox. So you're not limited by the repositories. And here you can find distrobox-create, different commands. I will show you the most important ones, or the most important ones for me. But you can see, find examples, everything is documented here. So yeah. Now back to the terminal. Now if you are working with a Debian based operating system, what you need to do is, sudo apt install Podman. On a Fedora based system, most likely it will be sudo dnf install Podman. In my case, it is really simple. It is sudo Pacman -s Podman, depending on the distro you're using, obviously. So sudo Pacman -s Podman and press enter. And I take the first one and then proceed with installation. Great. Now we can Podman --version, with which we can verify the installation process was successful. And we have the version number. Podman is the tool which is the all-encompassing containerizing tool which Distrobox itself relies on. And how do we work from there? Now, really simple, we install Distrobox. In my case, it's really simple, sudo Pacman -s distrobox. And then distrobox --version. Installation was successful. If it's not in your repositories, here you can find the installation tutorial on this website. How to update, for example, the package, everything is documented here. But yeah. So we have now successfully installed Podman, in my case, and Distrobox. So good, so fine. What I now really would recommend you to do is to install 2 further applications, both of which are Flatpaks in my case. They do not need to be Flatpaks, it's just Flatpaks provide you some extra stability in regards of Flatpaks being isolated from your home system, your main operating system, I mean. In the description you can find a video in which I have explained Flatpaks in further detail. But what you are needing to do, you can either open Discover or Software Center, whatever app store you have, and look them up. This would be Podman-Desktop and Boxbuddy. You can just, Boxbuddy. You can just press here and download this package. I'm not going to do this because I'm going to open FlatHub. We are going to the FlatHub website. FlatHub apps for Linux. Now, I've already set Flatpaks up, but you will need to go set up FlatHub. Choose whichever distribution you're using. Maybe, for example, in my case, it is EndeavorsOS. And follow the installation guide. And depending on the distro. But other than that, we are good to go. And what I'm going to do is Podman Podman-Desktop and Boxbuddy. Both of them are applications to make it easier to work with different containers we are going to create now. So so what you need to do, drop down menu and copy paste this entire comment here, and then copy paste it in here. And the same goes for Podman-Desktop. Now, Podman-Desktop gives you a GUI interface to work with all the different Podman containers you're working with. So it's an all-encompassing tool in that regard. Boxbuddy, on the other hand, focuses primarily only on Distrobox containers. So, just for you to know, Distrobox is a part of Podman, more or less, not the other way around. So, then we wait until the installation is finished. Now, for example, if I open up Boxbuddy, no containers have been created, obviously, because we are just needing to start with that. And before I continue, there's something I want you to know. It's not per se absolute essential, it's just beneficial for you. And for the future, if you want to develop your Linux knowledge, it will get important. Now, if you're going down here, you get down to the root directive. The root directive is when there's only a slash. So now we can continue. So when you are in the root directive, for example, I open terminal here and then press in pvd, there's only a slash. Now everything, now let me make it bigger. So everything here is inside one of these folders here. Everything you install, all videos, all packages, all video games, all system configurations, absolutely everything is one of them inside these folders here. That here is your home directive. Your home directive is your user directive. What does that mean? Your pictures, your folders, your video games, your memes, whatever, everything is stored in here. That's my username, documents, pictures, downloads, and also some program configurations, like Program A is having the color green, for example. And when you switch it to yellow, for example, it is also stored in the home directive. Why am I mentioning that? Because Distrobox containers are sharing the same home directive with the main system. And yeah, let me just continue. Now, for example, I'm going to create a Debian container. Just distrobox-create. In the description you can find other commands, so you don't need to read them from here. And yeah, distrobox-create, that's the first command, pretty self-explanatory. Then name. Now the next command is your own choice. You can name it however you want. You can name it uvu 5000 or whatever. I'm just going to name it Debian-12. Then image. This is the image, the exact file name of the container we are going to create. Okay, what does that mean? Go open the browser again. So what you need to do is go to the Distrobox website, scroll down until you come to supported container managers. Click there. And there you have the list, for example. Debian 11, Debian 12 are available here. Then you have OpenSUSE, Ubuntu, Vanilla OS. Good and fine. So there we come to the container distros. CentOS Stream 9, for example, I have installed on my host system. Now this is regarding Toolbox. We are working with Distrobox. So you have Debian 12. Debian 12. Debian 12 is the one we are going to install. Pretty simple. Again, distrobox-create. The name Debian 12. Written correctly, it's always recommended. What the fuck am I doing? So Debian 12 minus image Debian 12. This one you cannot choose. Now, are you working with an nvidia GPU? Really important. Then you need to... What? nvidia. Write it correctly, that always helps. So minus nvidia. If you do not work with an nvidia GPU, you can just leave that one out. And what we are going to do is create it. Press enter. Then copy paste it. And let's enter the container. So now we are in the Debian container. And how do we verify that? Just type in sudo apt, apt being a Debian package installation program, sudo apt install neofetch, for example. Then press yes. It's just gonna take a while. Then let's clear it and then press neofetch. And you can see Debian GNU via the access is the exact same. Now, if you are preferring to run a certain program in a Debian environment to provide extra stability, for example, with Distrobox you can do that. Now, let us exit that one. Now we are back at the host system. So now we have successfully installed a Debian container. Okay, good and fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an Arch Linux container. But before I do that, I'm going to make one thing different here. I go to the personal folder. It does not really matter where you put this folder. Open right click. And I just type in Arch Linux -home. I go into this folder and copy the path. /home/ my username / the folder name. What you can also do is open terminal here and press pvd. And then you can also copy that one. So now I'm going to make, I just going to press sudo distrobox-create --name Arch Linux, then the image arch Linux latest, just for you to check up. So and to find the image name, it's really simple. You have docker.io library, and you go from right to left until you hit the slash and just copy that. When I just did that. Before I continue, the specific folder name I've created, Arch Linux home, copy the path, now. So, and then I'm not going to press enter now, because now I'm going to type in --home and copy that folder in here. What does that mean? Why am I doing this? Because I've told you that the distrobox and the containers, distrobox containers and the home directive all share the home directive. Now, independently of this comment here, all the containers have the exact same access to the home directive as my host system. But with this comment, I'm making something different here. Because I've told you earlier that some programs, like do you prefer the color green or color yellow or some other system configuration, I'm oversimplifying here, are storing the configuration files in the home directive so that the system can remember them. Now, what if you want to create an Arch Linux container like I'm doing right now, and you want it to have the exact same access to the home directive as everything else, but it does not write its system configurations in the home directive itself, but somewhere else. Because maybe you're working with a certain program on your host system and you have the exact same program installed on a container, but since different distros have different versions or different way of saving things, there might be a configuration conflict. And you bypass this by having this container here storing its location, storing its configuration files in the Arch Linux -home folder I've created myself, and not in the raw home directive itself. But do you want to pull the image now? Yes, I do. And just wait a second. So, it was created successfully, copy paste it, and enter. Now, one thing we can do is to type in distrobox list, for example. Oh, I'm still in the container, of course. Before I do that, sudo pacman -s fast fetch, and then clear it. Type in fast fetch Arch Linux, great. So now I'm going to exit it, clear it again, and type in distrobox list. And here I have my two containers. Now what I can do is take the name I've chosen and just type in distrobox enter Debian -12, for example. And then I can enter it and install Debian programs, whatever. I'm not going to do that because we have installed previously two programs, extra programs. Podman-Desktop. I go for the setup. I'm gonna skip that. This is the greeting screen here. You type into containers, and here you have the Podman containers. Now, I've told you I've also installed Boxbuddy. What's the difference between Boxbuddy So I will explain that in a second. It's really easy because Boxbuddy is only limited to Distrobox containers. Podman-Desktop for every Podman container. So even if you install, for example, Honeygain for whatever, okay? It does not really matter. Everything is listed on that here. Boxbuddy is only limited to Distrobox containers. Podman-Desktop is just good to have for the future. But yeah. Now here I have Arch Linux and a Debian 12 container. Now what I can do is open the terminal and bam, I'm inside the container. So this is what I meant, and here you can read view applications. For example, yeah, I have nothing properly installed. For example, in Debian 12 I can open the terminal, sudo apt install vlc. So now we have installed VLC player inside Debian container. Now go back to view applications. It's loading, and now you can run it or add to menu. What does that mean? Because now I'm the host system, you can open VLC, VLC media player, the VLC player installed on my host system itself, and the VLC player inside a Debian container. And the exact same goes for Arch Linux containers or for all other distributions you have installed inside Distrobox containers. Which is especially useful if, for example, you prefer to use a Debian distro, but there's one specific package not available to you right now, and you really want to work with that one package. You can, for example, install a Fedora container or Arch container or whatever. Now what I'm going to do is create a 2x2 terminal, and now I'm just going inside my host system. I have EndeavorsOS, my host system, then I have Distrobox, enter Arch Linux, what's up with me today? Distrobox, enter Arch Linux, and Distrobox, enter Debian -12. Okay, good and fine. Now I have fast fetched everything in existence here. What's so useful about it? Because now I'm going to show you something. I'm just going to clear it, and I'm just going to type in ZD. Okay, what does that mean? I will explain in a second. Here I am doing the exact same thing. CD. Okay. And CD again. Now I have cleared and CD'd in all three terminals here, and you have absolutely no idea maybe what this means. Now here I'm going to open PVD. PVD shows me where I am in my system. I'm inside the home directory folder inside my username folder. Okay. Then PVD. Aha, there's something different written here. Home, Steve, okay. Arch Linux -home. The folder I've created myself. And here, PVD. Again, the exact same folder. What did I just do? because with CD you can enter, let me just show you ls. This shows me all the different folders inside the terminal. And I wanna, for example, enter the picture folder, it's Bilder because it's in German, but I'm just gonna cd Bilder pvd. Now I'm inside the Bilder folder. That's it. Gonna cd ls. I'm now back, because when you just type in cd, Linux is really nice to you and jumps directly into your home folder. Okay, it jumped into my home folder here, but here it's by accident in my home folder, because this folder I've said it should create is also inside the home folder. Because as you can remember, I've specified this folder as the home folder for this container. It has the exact same access to the regular home folder as every other distro, but it writes its system configurations separately than my system home folder. So, which should bypass any upcoming, configuration conflicts of two distros, for example. That's also really important to know. In the description, everything is explained, via text, and give you some examples here. But yeah. But I'm still not done here. I'm just gonna... So now, just for you to get the overview back, fast fetch. Now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna cd, but then I type in a slash. Because when I now press in pvd, there's only a slash. Because now I'm inside the root directive. I'm going to do this exact inside the Arch container. Now, before I continue, let me create a folder just so that I can properly explain something to you, which will be really important if you are working with GUI programs inside a container or whatever. I'm just gonna sudo mkdir. Mkdir means make directive, which means create a folder. It's the terminal equivalent of right-click, create new folder. Sudo mkdir, and I'm gonna name it test-uvu. Exactly. Now press ls again, and now you have this super fancy name of mine in here. Press ls again. It is not here, because obviously these are two different distros, and they share the same home directive, this folder here, but that's it. The rest here is not shared. What if you are working inside the container, but you want to either access a mount point for extra drives, for example, or a specific folder inside the root directive, or in my case properly, I wanna access the test-uvu folder inside the container. But you can see it is not here, How do I solve this issue? Because it's actually really easy once you understand it. But if you're a complete beginner, this might be really confusing. Here you have the run folder, and I'm just gonna type in cd/run, then ls again. Then I have here the host folder, cd/host, cd host. Okay, that did work. And I'm going to type in ls again. And here I have the test-uvu folder. So what I'm going to do, cd test-uvu. here cd test minus uvu. Now in both container and home system, I am now in the same folder. Let me just type in pvd. Pvd is the home directive, the root directive and the folder I've created. The same thing again. Aha, there's run host, because this here is the container root directive. This here is the host system root directive. And run minus host is, you can say, the bridge between container and the home and the host system. Now, for example, if you're working with DaVinci Resolve, for example. So here, VLC on Debian on the host system, but now on my Arch system, I'm also going to install VLC. And here I can type in VLC -- version. Let me clear it up. VLC -- version. This is the version number. Now, the -- version command, once you know the properly terminal name of the program, is the easiest way to verify if a program hasn't been installed successfully. And beforehand, I've, via Boxbuddy, the GUI, I've linked the program from Debian into my host system. And now here I'm going to do the exact same thing, but just via terminal command. distrobox-export --app and then VLC. Voila. And here you have VLC on my host system, on my Debian system, and on my Arch system. And that goes for every other command and for every other program. Because what if, for example, you have a Debian system as your host system, but you really want to utilize a super fancy tool called bbi-top. I'm just going to show it to you. Sudo pacman -s bbi-top. Clear bbi-top. Voila. It's a system monitoring tool. It's not really that important, but yeah. These are the base fundamentals to know and to understand if you really want to get comfortable and really want to start with Distrobox containers inside Linux. And again, it's an oversimplification in my end. And it's just the base fundamentals. You can do lots more things with Distrobox and with Podman also, obviously, but just for you to provide a starting point. Distrobox is an amazing tool with many possibilities, obviously, and it will definitely take some time for everything to sink in, obviously. But yeah. And I really want to mention, immutable distros are a topic on their own. In my personal opinion, for a private person, so just not for business work, but when you're just, your average Joe trying to play video games, etc., I would personally not recommend immutable distros, in my personal experience. Maybe you have a different experience with a mutable distro. I just would not say it's not worth the hassle. But if you have collected experience with immutable distros, which you really liked, not in work settings, just for private settings, I wanna limit the amount of conversation right here, please throw it in the comment section. I'm really interested. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope this video was kinda helpful, interesting, enlightening, whatever. Go read Berserk. and keep working, because there's still much to do.